Hi, I'm Willie Hager. I'm on the board of directors for Veterans for Peace. And tonight I'm here to award our Chapter of the Year award to a Veterans for Peace chapter that has followed the mission statement and has worked hard to get on the slate for this nomination. My chapter, Jacob George 174, nominated chapter 182 in Tijuana, the Sergeant Barrios Memorial chapter, for this award. And they have been selected, and I'm proud to be here tonight to personally award this to them for their hard work. And it is hard work. And the criteria that we look for are chapters who are able to maintain their presence in their community, working on community projects, national projects, or campaigns, and see them work as a chapter and actually be self-starting in the way that they do their business, and not wait for someone to come along and move them, and not wait for a direction per se from national. And I believe Chapter 182 exemplifies that. And they do it through their work, and just as the deported veterans operation there in Tijuana, and reaching out to deported veterans as they come across the border and triaging them into VA healthcare and VA benefits, and setting them up with housing and food until they get their feet on the ground once they're dumped off the bus. So they're involved in those kinds of things, but then the community projects, they are working with they're working with the Iraq Water Project to bring water purification to the refugee camps there in Tijuana. So it's hands-on. You see them all the time on video, working out there, hauling the water and moving this and moving that, but they're hands-on in their community, and they're right there at the border, and they capture these guys' attention when they come across, and they've been able to work to get their benefits awarded. They've been able to get, well, the most unpleasant thing we've done is we've sent several home, because oddly enough, while you can't go home alive, if you die as a veteran in Mexico, the government will ship you home and bury you in the United States. And so we've arranged several of those, and we've worked some social justice issues for deported veterans as well. So once again, and finally, I'm proud to present this award to a chapter with that kind of synergy, and I guess that's about it. Proud of you guys.
Greetings from South Florida. This is Patrick McCann, here to nominate Mark Foreman for the Gandhian NonViolence Award for Veterans for Peace for 2020. I've known Mark for almost a decade. We were on the board of directors together around 2013, and I've always been amazed by Mark's temperament, his humility, I read a little bit about his background recently. Mark was shot in the hip at the age of 20 in Vietnam, laid 5 days on a hilltop waiting for medevacs to take him, where he came back to the hospital and was in a body cast for 8 months. 20 years later, he had to go back into a body cast for 3 months. Because the infection from his original wound had never healed. So talking to Mark, when he was sharing some of this with me, he talked about how he just embraced the pain and just used his mental strength, his loving mental strength, to break through it. In my time on the Veterans for Peace National Board with Mark, I was always blown away by his peaceful character, reminds me of a Wayne Whitman or a John Hewer. And I've since stayed in touch with Mark. And he was, like myself, he was a high school teacher for 20 years in Milwaukee. He was an art teacher. And when he came out of teaching in 2005, he had just joined Veterans for Peace, and he transferred his energies from teaching into Veterans for Peace. Mark started a homeless veterans initiative in Milwaukee, and he now works on the Save Our VA currently. So what can I say about Mark? I mean, you got to meet him. He's just like, he's on such an even keel. He is so leveling. You never see him lose his temper. And he just personifies what leadership in peace means. So there you have it. Mark Foreman, Milwaukee chapter, Veterans for Peace, nominated for the Gandhian NonViolence Peace Award, 2020, Veterans for Peace.
First off, I'm Mike Peterson. I'm here to appropriate Andrew J. Basevich for Leadership in Peace Award. And to show you my bias, oops, that's against Trump. So, without further ado, Andrew J. Basevich is a professor emeritus of international relations and history at Boston University. A graduate of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, he also received his PhD in American diplomatic history from Princeton University. Before joining the faculty at Boston University, he taught at West Point and Johns Hopkins. He is a member of the advisory board of Veterans for Peace. He describes himself as a, quote, Catholic conservative, unquote. He advocates for a non-interventionist foreign policy. Basevich is critical of U.S. foreign policy, the post-Cold War era, maintaining that the United States has developed an over-reliance on military power in contrast to diplomacy to achieve its foreign policy aims. He is critical both of the Iraqi and Afghanistan wars. Basevich compared President George W. Bush, characterized as wrong-headed but sincere, with President Obama, who he says has no belief in the Afghanistan war, but pursues it for his own cynical reasons. Who's the more deserving of contempt? The commander-in-chief who sends young Americans to die for a cause, however misguided, in which he sincerely believes, or the commander-in-chief who sends young Americans to die for a cause in which he manifestly does not believe and yet refuses to forsake, unquote. Basevich is a Vietnam veteran, serving in Nam from the summer of 1970 to 1971. Basevich continued to serve up to his retirement from the service with the rank of Bird Colonel. His early retirement is thought to be as a result of his taking responsibility for the Camp Doha, Kuwait explosion in 1991 in command of the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. On May 13, 2007, Basevich's son, Andrew John Basevich, was killed in action in Iraq by an improvised explosive device south of Samarra. The younger Basevich, 27, was a first lieutenant in the U.S. Army. Basevich also has 3 daughters. I had the privilege of being in attendance one evening when he was guest speaker at the University of Oregon about 5 years ago, and again at UC Berkeley when he was inducted to the advisory board for Veterans for Peace. I have the pleasure to announce his candidacy for this award of Leadership in Peace. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Larry Gilbert, and I'm from the Veterans for Peace, Chapter 136 in the Villages, Florida. And it's my honor to have nominated Dr. Bernard Lown for the Howard Zinn Lifetime Achievement Award. And so how I got to know this doctor was when I was serving as mayor of the city of Lewiston, Maine. And a friend told me about him and said he would like to have a bridge named with between our twin city of Lewiston, Maine and Auburn, Maine, called the Bernard Lown Peace Bridge. And so I said, give me the information and then we'll take it from there. Well, sure enough, we did name the bridge in the honor of Dr. Bernard Lown, and we have a monument at both ends of the bridge. And the inscription on the monument says, Bernard Lown Peace Bridge. This bridge is named in honor of Dr. Bernard Lown, a world-renowned cardiologist and peace activist. Born in Lithuania on June 7, 1921, Dr. Lown and his family emigrated to the United States in 1935 and settled in Lewiston, Maine. Dr. Lown graduated from Lewiston High School in 1938 and the University of Maine with highest honors and received his medical doctor degree from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. At Harvard School of Public Health and Peter Bingham Hospital, Dr. Lown pioneered numerous life-saving advances in cardiology, including the direct current defibrillator that has saved thousands upon thousands of lives. A lifelong peace activist and humanitarian, Dr. Lown founded Physicians for Social Responsibility, Saddle Life, and Procore. He co-founded International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War with his Russian counterpart cardiologist for Mikhail Gorbachev. And the two doctors received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1985 on behalf of IPPNW. Writing the foreword for the book that Dr. Lown wrote, which is Prescription for Survival, A Doctor's Journey to End Nuclear Madness. Writing the foreword was Howard Zinn himself. And this is what Howard Zinn wrote. It was in this forbidding atmosphere against great odds that Bernard Lown and his colleagues in IPPNW struggled to create citizen-to-citizen contact between Americans and Soviet doctors as a way of breaking through the wall of hostility between the two nations. Central to this effort to bridge the Cold War divide by human contact was developing relationships between Dr. Lown and the distinguished Soviet cardiologist, Dr. Evgeny Chazov. The story of their friendship is an unreported piece of history in which obstacles in ideology and bureaucracy had to be overcome to create a bond in the interests of a peaceful world. Dr. Lown and his colleagues in IPPNW persisting in their efforts to create a Soviet-American dialogue encountered intense hostility in the press and the public. They were accused of being pro-Soviet, anti-American, unpatriotic, and consorting with the enemy. In defiance of this vitriol, they persisted in speaking above the heads of the political leaders in Washington to the public at large, pointing out with the precision of scientists the horrific consequences of nuclear war and suggesting the absolute necessity for dialogue instead of conflict. IPPNW was acting out the spirit of democracy in which not governments, but people are sovereign. The participation of doctors was a natural. They were healers. They were guardians of life. Physicians from all over the world joined IPPNW, soon numbering 135,000 doctors in 40 countries. The public was growing more and more aware of the threat of nuclear war. The movement for a nuclear freeze grew as city councils and state legislatures responded to public opinion and events, and even the US House of Representatives voted in favor of a freeze on nuclear weapons. Culminating in the movement was an enormous gathering of almost 1 million people in the summer of 1982 in New York City. The efforts of IPPNW were given dramatic recognition in 1985 by awarding the Nobel Peace Prize, with Bernard Lown and Evgeny Chazov invited to Oslo to receive the prize. It has, in his acceptance speech, Dr. Lown recognized the obstacles to peace, but urged the listeners to hold fast to dreams. So a couple of other things that, that he was responsible for, and those were physicians for social responsibility, satellite, to use satellites for health to assist in the continent of Africa. Also to bring, during the Vietnam War, to bring children here who had suffered burns to be treated in the United States. And he was able to get the State Department to provide the transportation, ambulances, and so on. So he finishes with a quote that he wanted on the monument. And it says, and we should heed this, "We must behave as though the destiny of the world depended on each of our actions. This is the moral imperative of our age." And so he is 99 years old and lives a stone's throw away from Boston College. And he and I have become personal friends over these years. And unfortunately, his wife, a year younger than him, passed away last November. But they were first cousins. They were married 73 years. So I am very pleased to know that he has received the Howard Zinn Award, especially where they were personal friends. Thank you.